Again here on LinkedIn and YouTube, and I don't know, Instagram's not my friend, Mariska, so I apologize for that. It doesn't seem to want to work with me, and I don't want to, try to do all that tech stuff. So we're just going to go with it. Welcome, everyone. My name is Miss V, and you are watching another episode of Let's Talk Careers with Miss V, and another incredible guest. Today we are meeting Mariska Nell.
Ooh. Oh, you broke up. Hello?
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
No.
We are still here, but the thing is, we are back. So I know we probably had a little tech glitch, but anyway, you got to keep going with it. Welcome, Mariska Nell, to Let's Talk Careers. If you're watching from LinkedIn, I'm excited to have you back with me. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, welcome back. Or if you're a student inside the Virtual Careers Hub, remember you get access to all of our guests. So make sure to send me a direct message with any of your questions. Welcome, Mariska Nell, the founder of Tails and Tones. Mariska is on a mission to help dog parents elevate everyday life with their pets without sacrificing style or sustainability. Mariska, you know me, I have a chief paw officer that watches over me daily. Her name is Kiki. Her partner in crime is Poco, and I absolutely love what you do. But can you help anyone that's just meeting you for the first time understand what is this mission all about?
Yeah, so I have a paw duck tester. So Piper is my French bulldog, and she is actually the one that kind of kicked off this whole pet company. So I was actually studying a master's in sustainable design, as I've been collecting all of these certificates that apparently you need. And so studying my master's, and I was literally walking, and it was pouring down with rain, and Piper decided she's no longer going to walk. So I was there carrying a French bulldog in one hand and then a broken stroller in the other in the pouring rain. And I just thought, you know what? Why is it when we have these hardest moments that these products fail us? And I was like, here I am studying a master's in sustainable design. How can we make pet products more sustainable and actually better products, for our dogs? Because, the baby industry was booming and everything. And it felt like the pet industry was almost like stuck behind. We didn't have all the amazing products and tools. So that kind of made me wonder, like, what can we explore? And as I was studying all of these different topics in my master's, we constantly had these assignments where it was like, okay, we are looking at sustainable packaging. What can we do with sustainable packaging? You need to find a product in your home, and then we're going to dig into that. So obviously, being a dog mom, we had a lot of dog products home to look at, and that's kind of what got me onto this mission. But it wasn't the plan from the get-go. So I did not sign up to start a pet company. What actually happened is I was working in sustainability. A lot of the times people were like, oh, you don't have the qualification. So that's why I went for the master's, and then thought, you know what, I'm just going to slide right into a corporate job, and it's going to be so good. And literally 200 job applications. That's where I stopped the count. I did more, but I stopped at 200. And I only got 2 interviews from that 200 job applications. I had 0 offers. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm going to pick up this thesis that I did so much work on about the pet industry, and I'm just going to bet on myself and create something that I wish was there on day one from Piper. So it wasn't an easy, yes, that's why I went in there. I got a lot of no's, and the doors were shutting on me, and I was just thinking, listen, if all these doors are going to close, I'm going to open a window. So let's go for it.
I love that. If you've seen me kind of looking here and there, I've got great news for you, Mariska. We're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on Instagram. So wherever you're watching, if you see my head kind of turning, I've got NASA Studio. Mariska, everything you've just said really hits home for many of my students and many of my clients as well. I'm just going to take it from the lens of a student right now. And whether they're beginning that career journey or they're in graduate school thinking about that first opportunity for work, or finishing up an undergrad thinking, do I go to grad school? Do I just join the workforce? Mariska, now that you know what you're doing in terms of the mission, the branding, the company, and all of the things that you've had to do, if you could give a young person advice, would you say all of these degrees were needed for what you're doing right now? And I just want to put the fine print. Anyone that knows me knows I advocate for education, but intentional education. So what would you say to a young person saying, I want to do what Mariska does? Do I need those degrees?
So I would say yes and no, because there's a lot of the stuff. I mean, so my undergrad is in interior design, and I definitely feel that kind of did spark a little bit more of like a almost like creative mindset and things like that. And I feel there was a lot from every single aspect, like the undergrad, the postgrad, even the masters, that I learned from. Whether I'm using every single thing as I should, most probably not, but I definitely think it did add value. But I would say you kind of need to weigh up, is it worth it? Because I still have student debt. I still need to pay off some of these like degrees. So it really depends. And sometimes it can be so expensive to get into that, whereas now at the moment I'm in a point where I almost need the exact amount of money that my degrees cost to start my startup. So it's like, what do you weigh up? But I feel, if I didn't have the science in my postgrad, which I basically did half a master's degree in environmental science, I wouldn't have the knowledge to actually go through all of these life cycle analysis, actually perform life cycle analysis, and really make sure we are doing what we say we're doing. So I think it depends on, do you need a degree to get that? No, you can probably research a lot of these things yourself, learn from that on your own. But sometimes the credibility comes in, this person actually has this degree that is verified here. So when she says she's done an LCA, we know she's capable of it. So yeah, it's a hard one, because sometimes I look at my master's degree and I'm like, oh my gosh, you were one hell of an expensive paper. But then I think, if it wasn't for that master's degree, I would probably not have investigated the pet industry in the way I did. And that wouldn't have led me to the things I've done. So I think,
love that.
At some point we need to really see, what are some of these things that is almost like tilting and shaping your direction, and also your thinking, your mindset. And so if I had to look at Mariska, 18 years old, and say, hey, go and study that interior design degree, I don't know if I would tell her go and do that, because I know I haven't really used that in the sense as I thought I was studying for that. But I definitely feel there's elements of every single thing that really helped me to almost progress to the next level, and obviously build up your network as well. I mean, if I didn't do my master's degree in sustainable design, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to actually interview like Greg Hoffman, who was the former CMO of Nike, because he actually studied at the same uni as me. So it's also things like that you really need to use the opportunity that you are given when you are doing that.
I love that. So, what I'm really hearing you say, and you're echoing a statement I always tell my students and my clients, make intentional choices.
Mm.
So, imagine I sat down with a younger Mariska and said, Mariska, one day you're going to have a beautiful puppy named Piper. But Piper is going to come into some health challenges. What problem do you think you want to be fixing? Do you think then that you would think differently about those education choices? Or do you think that you still would have needed a bit of lived experience before you came to this place?
I definitely think I needed that experience, and also like kind of going through the steps I did to even get me on the sustainability path, because I was like climbing the corporate ladder, actually went on a hiking trip through Kilimanjaro, and that's where I kind of decided, you know what? I need to do something to actually, protect this planet. And that is what I've been trying to do ever since. So obviously, before I started the pet company, it was really more on sustainability and advising and creating artwork to create more awareness. So it's definitely, I think that was more of a moment and then everything kind of led through that. So I would say, I don't know necessarily if I would have made different choices, because looking back, I feel there was value at each of this. But looking at my bank statement and knowing how much money I still actually paid for those degrees, I'm like, is the maths actually mathing there?
Yeah, that makes
Was it
sense.
worth? So I feel, if you're in a situation where you really, it's like either I'm starting a business or I'm getting a degree, like kind of, those are options that you need to look at. But my vision was always that I wanted to start this pet company, but I wanted to get some corporate experience, get money from the corporate experience, and then build the business. But life doesn't always happen the way you plan, so you kind of sometimes you have to just like go with the punches.
Amazing. Okay, Mariska, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and your journey and some of the tips that you could offer my students inside Virtual Hub. But before I do that, I also I'm very, very deeply committed to helping women pivot in their career journey. Tell me about how it felt for you pivoting as you were thinking corporate world, I want to have that. I guess, the dream that we all want to have is secured income coming in, not worrying about that income, which is, something we'll tap into when we talk about entrepreneurship, but putting entrepreneurship to the side. As a woman pivoting the career, not just pivoting the career in one geographic location, you did some moving around and you had to pivot. Tell us what that was like and some advice that you could give professional women watching this right now who are feeling like they have to make the pivot but don't know how to make the pivot.
It's really hard because it's like with every single time you are making a career shift, it's not like you're just jumping from one job to another. Like when I went from being, in the interior design industry to sustainability, it was like a full on, like, almost like 180, like totally different. So then you're almost starting at zero again. So you come from, oh, I've got like 10 years experience. But then when you start your new career in that kind of field, yes, you've got 10 years of working experience in somewhere else. But sometimes that doesn't really count. People are like, oh, yeah, but you're so new to sustainability. So you're kind of in a junior position. But then one of the biggest challenge I had was people didn't really know where to place me, because now, yes, you've got interior design experience, but you're starting as ground zero. But yes, you have this many years experience. And I don't know, like there was this whole unbalanced thing that made it hard to actually find employment. I really struggled every time when I shifted. So that is when, you do need to focus on a network. And that I would say is probably, your net worth is your network. So if, you go to networking events and you meet people, because sometimes that is also how you can get opportunities, because then people get to know about you, your work that you do, and, you can get into whether it is doing consulting or, trying to find that almost like career path again. But it is a challenge, and I just feel like it is so worth having people around you that is supportive, because there's going to be days where you're going to feel like, oh my goodness, why did I do this? And also, as you go from, I've got 10 years of working experience here, your salary is also you starting at that almost like base level. So there's a lot of challenges, and if you are 100% sure, like, listen, I need to make this switch, make it as quick as possible, like almost it's like a band-aid, just rip it off, go, and just know it is going to be challenging. But if this is something that you are really destined to do, and it is your why, it is your passion, you're going to be so much more fulfilled doing that than staying in a corporate career, which you probably, might not like as much, but you might like the money. The money might come in the next, the next opportunity, but it is almost something that you kind of have to evaluate. And once you've made that decision, go all in. Don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Now you're wondering, is it the right, is it not? Do that, and do that for at least a year before you think, should I jump back? Should I do
Mm.
this? Yeah, that is probably the biggest advice. It is a challenging thing to navigate, but when you come to the other side, it's really worth it.
I love that. I love everything you said. I can resonate with that. A couple of things I wrote down that you were saying. One is unbalanced. And then you said that people didn't know where to place you. And the more I think about this, I think not just as a career strategist, but also as a solopreneur and thinking entrepreneurial. You know what I think the problem is, Mariska? I think the problem is the people that are hiring in corporate are not entrepreneurial, and they don't think entrepreneurial. And so they look at candidates in really through a 2D lens. And that's job description. Let me look at what you've done. Oh, I can't see where I place you. So because I don't think entrepreneurial, I don't see those transferable skills. And I think, definitely a different conversation. But as we're talking about women pivoting, I think women need to, and men, if you're on LinkedIn and you're like, well, Maria, what about the men? Men too. So I think across the gender, but I speak to women because I think sometimes, Mariska, and tell me if this was your lived experience. Sometimes as women, we tend to wait for someone to say, yes, you have a seat at the table, or yes, I give you permission, or yes, you have achieved 100% of what you need. And I think we're in a really challenging labor market, very challenging job market right now. There's no time. And you said it, don't wait, just jump in. But that's very entrepreneurial. So without further ramble, I want to dive into the entrepreneurial side to you. Inside the Virtual Hub, I have students at different ages and different phases of their education journey. I love introducing them to the world of entrepreneurship, but through two lenses. One, if you want to work for a company and be an employee, I urge you to learn how to think entrepreneurial. So have that entrepreneurial mindset. If you want to be your own creator and be a job creator, then you want to really think entrepreneurial and also take those entrepreneurial steps. Where on the journey did you realize, Mariska, it's now or never, I got to do it. I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
I think I kind of always had that, kind of Since I was growing up, I mean, I was in primary school when I started my very first enterprise. It was a fudge business, and we were selling to like a very big bank's canteen. We sold like 300 pieces of fudge every week, you know? So I very quickly turned like selling door to door to like in this like enterprise. And it was only when I kind of sat a couple of weeks ago to really think, where did this really start? And then, I did like a KTV Market Day, which was a South African TV, like kids TV show. And I actually won that as like, this like 14-year entrepreneur. And then I think it was very much that there was quite a lot of stuff from studying where you need to focus on your degree. You need to, now the next step is we need to find a job. So I think that kind of pushed that entrepreneurial genes a little bit. Like we're not really entrepreneur. We need to this is how the career path is laid out, and that's how we follow it. And I think no one really told me, hey, you can't be an entrepreneur, you need to be this. But I think I never knew a lot of people that has actually made it as like these successful people that has done their own thing. So I thought that is more like the side hustle, and we need to focus on getting the job. So I would say it's always kind of been entrenched, but almost like suppressed in a way. And it was really only kind of now that I was like, okay, well, I've tried everything to find a job. It's like you're knocking on these doors. And that's when something just clicked to say, listen, why am I spending 6 hours a day trying to find work where I can spend that on actually building something that is going to secure like income for me for the future? So I think that is when I really sat and had that conversation with myself to see, let's do this. But yeah, I
Mm.
feel because the way that I grew up and I was raised, it was not really something, I didn't know a lot of entrepreneurs. And I would say it is something now that I do is I reach out to a lot of people that is like billionaires and, millionaires and people that has been, like self-made, and, just get some advice from them, because I feel I need to know that there is people like that that actually exist, because that makes this dream and like more a reality to me.
Amazing. I love that you're really being not only being entrepreneurial, but really jumping outside of that comfort zone and reaching out to, like you said, the millionaires and the billionaires. That's very aspirational. My students are always asking me, Miss V, how will I know that I can do this entrepreneurship journey? What would you say to them, Mariska?
Well, I would say there's kind of three questions that you need to be able to answer. And this was from a lovely book that I read from Mickey Agrol. And it is such a phenomenal book. And like, there's basically three questions you need to ask yourself. You need to ask, are you solving a problem like kind of that you have? Second one is this a problem that many other people will have? And then the third thing is this something that you can be passionate about for a long time, like, at least 10 years or so? If you answer three yeses, like definitely, yes, hell yes, we're doing this, then that is a good sign that you're on the right track. Because I feel a lot of the times we want to be entrepreneurs, but we're doing something that we're not passionate about. Maybe something that next month we're going to be like, yeah, I don't feel like it because it's not really my passion. Whereas if you have something you're so passionate about, it is going to make those days, which is going to be there, the hard ones where you feel like, today I'm going to sit in the closet and I'm going to cry for a bit because nothing went my way. The last month's work has been, absolutely worthless. On those days, it is that why that you remember, this is why I'm doing this, and you pick yourself up and you continue. So I would say that is definitely, you need to have that. If you want to go this route, you need to be passionate about what it is that you do, because it's challenging. It's not easy. And then the other thing is you need to believe in yourself, and that is very hard at times because when you are faced with, oh, we're having licensing issues, or you get this bill and you're like, oh my gosh, I only have 200 dirhams in the bank, and this is all of those times you sometimes question, is what I'm doing, is this actually worth it, or is this going to be a successful business? And on those days, I would say you need that community that also believes in you, because on those days you need to almost go or continue on their belief, because someone else, like I know Maria believes in me. So on that days when I don't have that belief, I know someone else is carrying that for me, and
Mm.
I almost can push myself through that, because being like a solo entrepreneur can be so lonely. So you need to find other people that's kind of in the same boat as you, because sometimes we need to help each other so that the boat don't sink.
And I know we get that. We totally get that. I feel like you've been watching me this week, Mariska. But let's talk a little bit about some of the fame that you've been celebrating. So I know how hard you work because I feel like I've had a sneak peek behind the scenes of your journey, just a tiny little glimpse. And I imagine that it has been 10x of all the parts that I haven't seen. Just to name a few, you've won the Help Bank competition, the Dubai Accelerator competition. You were invited to be on Dubai Eye, the radio. You've won other awards. You've been invited to speak with the likes of Gary Vee. You've done so many things. Somebody watching you thinking, Mariska's so lucky. She's so lucky. It must be easy for her. Respond to that in the kindest, most humble way you can.
So I would definitely say you need to make your own luck. And there's so many things. People are like always, oh, you're always like on the Chris Fade show, and Chris so well, or things like that. And it's like, yes, because I've done the back work to get there. Like every single time when I listen to the radio and they're like, call in and tell us something, then I call in and I speak to them. And like when they had a competition a couple of years ago, which was like the Break with a Twist, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I think I know where they are, so we're gonna go. And then we actually got to go to Phuket with them. So we got to go to Phuket with them, and that is when I kind of, almost established that bond. So I feel you need to look for opportunities. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but you're not going to know until you try. And I mean, there's been a lot of times, I mean, I have got artwork that I've did for like Trevor Noah and like, well, Gary Vaynerchuk. And it's like you need to almost play chess and look at the bigger picture and then see, how can I get in rooms with these people? How can I, not necessarily how can I get these people to help me, but how can I add value to these people that when I am in a room with them the next time, they actually know who I am. And I'm not expecting Gary Vee to be like, hey Mariska, yes, you did a painting for me, I'm going to be your next investor. No, but I do feel that he would be able to give me a couple of minutes of his time if that ever comes to the choice. But I also feel sometimes we give with the expectation that we're gonna get something, and I would never do that. I always feel I just want to give, and I want to be able to learn from these people, and if at any point there is something that works out, then amazing. But I feel a lot of the times people feel it is luck. But like when I was on Dubai Eye a couple of 2 weeks ago, I think. So my interview was only at like, I think I had to be at the studio at like 9:30 or something. So I decided, okay, I know this is a radio station. There's going to be a lot of these people that I know. Like, I'm going to rock up earlier so that I might have a chance to actually bump into Chris or bump into this. And I did. But if I didn't take that initiative to do that, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. So sometimes you need to also think outside of the box and take on opportunities. Like, I've got a guest list of, people that I really want to interview for my podcast, or people that I want to ask these questions. So I actually have all of that interview questions written out, ready on my email to go. If I run into them today, I can do that interview. I'm prepared, I'm ready. And I feel that is the thing that a lot of people don't think about. So yeah, you almost need to be 10 steps ahead, prep for that. I believe I'm going to meet Oprah, and she's going to be someone that's going to buy my bowl at some point. I'm putting it out in the universe. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if you don't believe in that and you don't ask for those things, you never know.
Of course, I love that. Again, it's that thinking entrepreneurial. Don't wait for permission. Be prepared. Jump outside the box. I love it, Mariska. Okay, as we're coming to the end, tell us about your initiative and tell us how we can support Tails and Tones.
Yes. So, and that's again, this whole thing, when I started with this thesis, I wanted to start a pet company. I actually wanted to create a pet stroller. So that was the goal, the idea. Got that costed up. It was costing me close to $1 million to get that made, which I was like, I don't have that kind of cash lying around. So I then interviewed over 100 pet parents. So one of them were Greg Hoverman. And I came up with top 10 products that really can add value to pet parents. And so we are about to launch our very first one. So I have her here.
Ooh, I have to say, we're getting a very exclusive sneak peek. Thank you so much, Mariska.
So this is
wow.
LA, and it is actually like a food and water bowl. But it is elevated. So it's specifically designed for like medium to small dogs, but with a very strong focus on your brachycephalic dogs. So all your flat-nosed dogs, like your Frenchies, your Pugs, your Boston Terriers. And so basically the bowl system, so you've got a 2 bowl, and then you've got a 1 bowl. And then you can kind of decide which one goes on the top or the bottom. And it is designed in a way that it has a neutral position for the dog just to kind of walk up and eat. Because Piper has actually gone through a lot of physio, acupuncture, and a lot of these breeds really struggle with their neck and spinal issues. So for them, having an elevated bowl really helps a lot. And I couldn't find one on the market. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to create that. So that is what we've created. And we have a founders pack, which is our first 150 bowls that we will bring to market. And then so people can join our wait list. And as soon as we have our links ready to actually pre-order that, they will be the first to know. So yeah, they can, the link is live on our Instagram at Tails and Tones. So it's like tails, like a dog tail, tails. And tones, like the tones of your voice. And they can find us there and just join Piper's Founders Pack. And then, yeah, the product, once it's live, we will also kind of have it on there. But our Founders Pack will actually get it at like a $50 discount. So definitely worth signing up early.
I love it. I'm just writing this into our comments box on LinkedIn. Can you spell out Tails and Tones again for us?
Yeah, so it is TAILS and AND, Tones, TONES.
Amazing. I've just added that to our to our LinkedIn. I'm going to add it to Instagram and also to our YouTube. Kayroon from LinkedIn is giving you a big congratulations. Thank you, Kayroon, for putting that in our comments. Mariska, I have so many questions, but we are coming right to the end. Mariska, one last question for today. I know that parents at this time of the year are either preparing their young graduates to go off on that next academic journey, but we also have parents preparing their younger children to begin making those career choices. You said earlier on that you didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs, and so you didn't really have that access around you to really understand what that would be like for you. What do you say to a parent who may have never been in the entrepreneurial world and would be a little worrisome for their children or child to join the entrepreneurial world when the likes of Gary Vee and Simon Squibb are saying, do it when you're young because you have less to risk? What advice do you have to a parent that might be a little more conventional, a little more traditional, and encourage their children to do the linear, go to uni, get a job, and then when you save some money, think about entrepreneurship?
I think there's so many pros and cons in, going to uni first, not going to uni. So I think it really depends on, the child, basically. If you know that, listen, it is my dream to become a doctor, and that is honestly the thing that I want to do. Obviously, you can't, not go to uni. If that is your dream, you have to go. So if you are 100%, that is your career path, then I would say, go and study what it is you want. If you are not sure, and I think I was kind of in that not sure bucket, when I went to uni, I think it is so important not to just jump into going to university. Like, maybe take a year off and go and explore, maybe do a few internships, do different things, and find out what it is that you want to do. And if that is like, I want to build a business and this is what I want to do, then try, see, maybe is there something, can you, take $500 and build something from that. And if that is the case, yes, you might have like such an amazing talent to actually build businesses, but you have to try. And I feel, if you don't go to uni directly out of school and you take a year to explore this route and it doesn't work out, then you go to uni the next year. But if it does, what if it does? What if, you are this like 19-year-old billionaire that is making so much money and, you would have gone to uni? So I think it is really like such a interesting, but, you kind of need to know your kid, but also risk it. Like, life is so short. Why would you want to tie yourself up to a 4-year or even a 7-year degree if you're not 100% sure? So I would have risked it. If someone like gave me, the choice of either paying for uni for a year or taking that money and, go and build something, I would have probably built something.
Yeah, I love that. I'm sitting on my hands because I have so much to say, but it's your interview, so I will zip the lip. I loved everything you brought to us today. I know that my students and my clients and, looking at the struggles that I see individuals having globally in our current labor market and our current, challenging workforce, it's not easy to know what is the right path, but I love that you have navigated your journey and shared that story of how you went from uni to being an entrepreneur and having to pivot along the way. Thank you, Mariska, for joining us and for sharing your journey with us.
You're most welcome. And you guys can also find me on my podcast as well, which I share a lot of stuff on there as well. And always happy to answer some questions because this road is a bumpy one and you need as many, people to kind of just like root you on. So always rooting
I love
for you
it.
guys.
I love it. I love it. Tell us where we can find your podcast.
Yeah, so I have 2 podcasts just because I'm always an overachiever. So Tails and Tones, you can go on our website as well, tailsandtones.com. The podcast link is there, or anywhere where you listen to your podcast, it is Tails and Tones. So TAILS and AND Tones, TONES, Tails and Tones. And my sustainability podcast is Mama Earth Talk. So MAMA Earth, like the earth, and Talk, Mama Earth Talk. So those are the 2 podcasts. And yeah, so people can find me there, and also on Tails and Tones. You can go and see our lovely product and sign up to our waitlist.
Can't wait to get mine in my hands. I've got Poco and Kiki. Very, very excited. Thank you, Mariska. And that is it. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Let's Talk Careers with Miss V. If you are a student inside my virtual hub and you have any questions for Mariska, you have access to send me a direct message or join me in the live virtual office. And we'll be sure to send those questions off to Mariska. And I know confidently that she'll be able to respond to them. If you're watching us from LinkedIn, thank you for joining me on this Friday afternoon or morning or evening, whatever time you're seeing this. On YouTube, thank you for being with me. And on Instagram, I can't believe we did it. We did it successfully. That's it for now. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.